Welcome to Her Money Revolution. I'm your host, Angela Brooks, your guide on this journey to becoming a wealthy woman. As a certified financial planner, owner, and advisor at Family Capital Management, I'm on a mission to simplify the conversation around investing and to help women generate more wealth by making their money work for them. Join me as we navigate powerful financial planning strategies to help you achieve your personal and professional goals. This podcast is your go-to destination for no fluff, easy to implement financial and investing advice. If you are ready to achieve audacious financial goals, dream beyond boundaries, and generate massive wealth for you and your family, this podcast is for you. Grab a notebook. Let's get started. Hello and welcome back to Her Money Revolution, the podcast where we empower women to grow their wealth by making their money work for them. I'm your host, Angela Brooks, and today we are diving into a topic that is touching more and more lives, and that is blended families. Blended families don't just merge households. They merge bank accounts, bills, and very different money expectations. And while step families are becoming more and more common, I would probably safely say at some point in your family line, there has been a blended family. But as they become more and more common, the financial playbook for them is far from simple. Every dollar spent can feel loaded. Is it going to go to your kids? Is it going to go to your spouse's kids? Is it going to go to your ex's new wife's kids? Like the list goes on, right? Or are the kids now that you're raising together, is that where the money should go? I've seen this firsthand through the families that I serve, how complex this can get, how emotionally and financially challenging it could be to be in a blended family and try navigating your finances. And today, I want to share some of those stories along with practical strategies so that you feel less alone and more empowered if you're navigating these same waters. So in a traditional household, couples have to work hard together and learn how to navigate how money is going to be spent, how money is going to be saved for today and for tomorrow, saving for a vacation and saving for retirement. Couples have to learn how money is going to be shared. And then you add in the layer of stepkids and child support and sometimes even alimony. And suddenly money decisions begin to feel supercharged with emotion. Whether you're a blended family or not, money can feel supercharged with emotion. And that's because money decisions, especially in a blended family, but also in traditional families, feel emotionally charged because money is rarely just about money. It's not just about the dollars and cents. And here's why. I'm going to go through a bunch of different examples of why, but identity and values are tied to money. How we spend our money, how we save our money, how we share our money reflects our values, reflects our priorities, and even our sense of identity. When two people join households, they bring different money stories, how they were raised, their relationship with money, which is rooted before you're 8 years old, how they view security, what they believe is fair. Conflicts often arise because it's not just about the dollars, but about what those dollars represent. Money feels emotional because if you think what the difference between fairness versus unity. In a first marriage, couples may already struggle to align spending and saving habits, and then add in stepkids and a second spouse or child support and alimony. And suddenly there's an external factor influencing the household spending plan. One spouse may feel their money is being taken away from the family, while the other sees that it's fulfilling a responsibility. Balancing fairness to children from a previous relationship with unity in the current household creates tension if it's not done well. Money is emotionally charged because there could be a sense of or a feeling of loss of control. Money leaving the household, whether through child support or alimony payments or obligations to a former spouse, can make one partner feel like they have less control over their financial future. And this lack of control quickly becomes emotional, especially if one person feels that they're shouldering way more financial responsibilities than the other. Money is emotionally charged because of trust and security. At its core, money is deeply tied to security. I fully believe that at its core, money, even as a tool, is deeply tied to security. If a partner feels like financial decisions aren't transparent or that resources are being stretched too thin, trust is shaken. In blended families, that trust must extend beyond just the couple in the household. It extends beyond the couple to the former spouses. It extends to the court agreements and the shared obligations, which magnifies the emotional stakes at hand. It's challenging. Money is emotionally charged because there could be pressure of multiple roles. I'm not in a blended family. I have an amazing, wonderful, beautiful husband. And yet we both feel the pressure of multiple roles that aren't as many as a blended family holds. People in blended families juggle so many roles, right? You're a new spouse or partner if you're not married. You're a parent, a step parent, a co parent with an ex. And what if your ex gets remarried and they have more kids that are now your kid's half brother and sister? What do you do there? Some families, really want to unify and welcome those kids as well. It's easy to feel torn in having all those multiple roles. It's easy to feel guilty or resentful when money has to be divided among so many competing priorities. And money carries meaning. Remember, money is just a tool. But if we don't understand how to use the tool and we don't understand that how money carries meaning, we can compromise a lot of things in our lives. Security and fairness and love and respect. When stepkids and child support and alimony are involved, those meanings get multiplied and sometimes collide, which is why emotions run so stinking high. And people always think, oh, we're rational, even in the stock market, right? You make choices because you're making rational choices. But guess what? We are not rational. Our brains were literally not designed to be rational. Our brains are designed to keep us alive. And so when you have these high emotions, if you don't figure out how to keep them in check, you're going to drive yourself crazy or your ex crazy or your children crazy. There's so many moving parts that goes into managing your money, especially in blended families. One of my clients remarried after her husband actually passed away. It was very sad, but she is happy and married an amazing, wonderful guy. So in her first marriage, they had 2 kids together, and her new husband also has 2 kids with his first marriage. Those kids are just a little bit older. They're in high school. And then together they have 2 more kids. So it's truly a blended family. The tension around money, though, showed up immediately, like even before they got married. And it wasn't bad. It was just there and mostly around vacations. And that hasn't changed now that they have 2 kids. That tension is still there around vacations. And I laugh, but it's like, oh my goodness, we saw the red flags. Why haven't you taken the practical steps to try to better communicate on these things? And it's what she tells me, at least, is always about the dang vacation. So, like, there's a budget, right? Or a spending plan for the trip. And the argument or the tension is around, okay, well, should it include all of the 6 kids or just her kids, like the 4 plus her 2 stepkids, or no, because they're in high school and have jobs and have another spouse that's paying, that's, helping out with expenses. But who pays for what? When the vacation's happening, do you split everything evenly? Does one, and then her husband passed away, so she doesn't have that child support. She does have a large life insurance. Her kids do. The kids were the beneficiaries on one of his life insurance policies. So then she's like, do I use that just for my 2 kids with my deceased husband? Or do I use it for all 4 of my kids? Or do I use it for all 4 plus my 2 stepkids? It's just so dang complex. And there's no right, it's hard for me to answer that because there is no right answer. you have to communicate with your current spouse. Like, okay, what do we feel is fair or equal or best for our thriving marriage? Another story from a client that I have is a dad. He's a stepdad and he wanted to pay for his stepkids. He wanted to help out for college. There's a senior and a junior. And so he said, okay, I need to start setting money aside for them to go to college. And I want to be able to pay for that. But he has 3 biological kids that are still in elementary school. And he hasn't had any kind of funding for his biological children. And so he's torn. Like, okay, there's more of an immediate need for these kids that are going to college, but they have another dad that could help out. But his current wife just assumed that he would treat all the kids equally. But financially, he wasn't ready. It was really going to stretch him thin, and he wasn't emotionally ready either. That difference in expectation created conflict that they did not anticipate when they got married. You don't know what you don't know until you're in it, right? But these situations aren't about greed or selfishness. They're amazing people, and they're not greedy people, and they're not trying to be jerks to one another. They're about deeply personal values and loyalties. And unless those are talked about openly, resentment builds. I'm going to talk about resentment in a minute, but every situation is unique. There is not a one size fits all strategy, but there are some strategies that have been proven to work better than others. And I want to talk about that next. I'm going to dive into that. But right after I talk about one other thing, and that's the insider-outsider dynamic. I don't know if you've heard of this before, but there's something that researchers call the insider-outsider syndrome. And so it's kind of like walking into a party where some of the people at the party are family members and they all know the history and they all know the inside jokes. While there's other people at the party, the guests, that they're trying to figure out where they fit in. Maybe they know one person or none, and there's just kind of like floating around trying to figure out where do they fit in. In blended families, the insiders are usually the parents and their biological kids. They've got history. They have routines, a natural sense of belonging. The outsiders are the step parent or the step kids, or even the ex-spouse whose financial needs are still affected, or still being impactful in the household. So money decisions like paying for child support or buying back to school clothes for the step kids or saving for college shine a spotlight on who feels in and who feels out. And because money is tied to security, because money is tied to love, those feelings get magnified. And the goal isn't to erase the insider-outsider dynamic. It's normal. It's there. It's natural. But to name it and to work through it together so everyone feels valued and the money decisions build connection instead of division is the goal. One of my clients, she's a stepmom, felt torn every time her husband spent money on his kids from his first marriage. She didn't mind the expenses. I tried to make that what it was. Like, she's like, no, honestly, I don't care. It's not about we have money. What hurt was not being part of the decision-making process. And on the flip side, he felt like he was just doing what any good dad would do, but, being a good dad and paying for his kids. Both were right, but without communication, both felt wronged. So this story really kind of shows you the insider-outsider dynamic in action. It wasn't about the dollars being spent. It was about belonging and decision-making. She wanted to feel like a partner, not a bystander. And he wanted to feel like an awesome dad, right? Not like he needed permission to be a parent to his own kids. Both had good intentions, but without communication, both walked away feeling hurt. And that's the truth about money and blended families. It's never just about the math. It's love and loyalty and fairness and trust all tangled up together. That's why emotions run so stinking high. But here's the good news. You can reduce that tension by putting some practical money moves in place, some clear strategies to create clarity, and clarity brings peace. And let me just preface by saying this. I've had clients, I've had friends, I've had family members say, nah, it doesn't work for me. Thanks, but I'm good. Like, No, yeah, but our situation is different. Yeah, those things just never work. I call bullshit. I don't like to swear, but bullshit. If you're having issues, it's not working. Try something different. The definition of crazy making is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different outcome. It's not going to change unless you change, unless you try something completely different that you've never done before. So I do get passionate about this because I hear it so often. It doesn't work for me. It's just not my thing. Even with like sidebar, but even with like vision boards. Nah, vision boards don't work for me. Yeah, bullshit. Actually, there's science behind it. They do. They do work for you. You're not different. You are unique and beautiful and wonderful, but trust me, there's science that works for everybody. And if you've never done it or if you haven't tried it and been really intentional, how the heck do you know? Okay, so let me come back to blended families. If you're in a blended family, if you're in the middle of a divorce and figuring out child support, if you're just being a jerk and don't want to pay child support, or you just want to have one last sense of control over your ex or whatever the craziness might be, I really want to empower you to listen to some of these practical money moves and to really put them into your life and just try it. Just try it for a month or 2 or 3. Just try it. Okay, so here are some of the strategies that I know that have worked with clients and friends and family members. So first and foremost, and some of these actually are true in just marriage, but start with transparency. Put all the numbers on the table, your income, your debts, child support, your alimony, any big financial goals. It's hard to make joint decisions when half of the information is missing. And then create a shared family spending plan so everyone sees your ex, your current partner or new spouse, so everyone sees where the money goes, including child support and alimony. Now, obviously, I don't mean like have all your family spending plan be your personal if you're newly married. That's separate. But then have another, the true family spending plan that the exes are involved. I have a client that they work off of Google Doc or Google Sheets, that the ex-husband and the ex-wife, they both access it. And that's how they communicate around money and child support. So start with transparency. Number 2, clarify shared versus separate. So some families pool all of their money. Now I'm talking like if you're in this blended family, right? They pool all of their money. Others keep separate accounts. And then most that I have talked with do more of a hybrid approach. There's no right way, but the key is agreeing on which expenses are joint and which are individual. And then what really works, and you can do this even in a non-blended family, but set up a yours, mine, and ours accounts so that both partners have autonomy, but there's also a joint pool of household expenses. Number 3, plan for fairness, not sameness. So supporting children equally may not always be possible or even fair. I know life is not fair, and I teach my kids life is not fair, but hear me out. Especially if kids are at different stages in life, right? So like what matters is that both spouses feel the decisions are intentional and not accidental, or we're not reacting. And you take time and respond based on your individual kids' needs. Let me add something personal in here that I say to my kids all the time. Life isn't fair. I'm not trying to be fair. Let one kid have something and not the other. I'm not trying to be fair. And they might get discouraged, but guess what? I don't care. I can't care because I love them. I love them equally. I don't love one more than the other. But because I love them for who God created them to be, I know that my oldest son needs different things than my middle son. My middle son is going to need different things than my daughter. And that doesn't always look fair, right? That doesn't always look the same. Most of the time, it doesn't. One child might get braces while another gets to go to a sport camp, or one might need more academic support and have tutoring after school while another gets more freedom. It doesn't mean that I love one more or less. It means that I'm giving each of them what they need in that moment for their success. So for me, that's what fairness, not sameness, looks like. And again, I'm using these words kind of because I don't believe in like life is not fair, or life is not equal, I should say. So, plan for fairness, not equal. It's not about dividing everything into equal portions down to the penny, right? It's about being thoughtful and transparent and purposeful with how you're supporting your family. And when both spouses are on the same page with that approach, it creates trust and it helps avoid resentment. And I keep coming back to resentment because resentment is such a killer. Resentment isn't loud at first. It's not like a slap in the face or a punch in the gut where you get the wind knocked out of you and you're like, ugh. You know right away when those things happen and you feel it deeply. Now, resentment is quieter and more subtle. It's like a tiny crack in the foundation of a house. At first, you don't even notice it. But over time, as little frustrations and unmet expectations pile up, that crack widens. In relationships, resentment builds when one partner consistently feels unheard, when one partner consistently feels unappreciated or left out. And if you're honest, maybe it's you. Maybe you're intentionally letting yourself be unheard, which do some honest gut check. Are you trying to feel unappreciated? Are you taking that on? Or is it your spouse really putting that on you, really leaving you out of the decision-making process? Maybe it is resentment. Maybe it is about money decisions. Maybe it's about parenting. Maybe it's about household responsibilities. But each time it feels small in the moment, the resentment feels small and it might sting a little bit in the moment. But together they add up over and over and over and over, creating a slow divide between two people who once felt close. Left unaddressed, resentment becomes distance. But when you catch it early, when you're willing to name it and to talk about it, it can actually become a signal for where healing and growth need to happen, because you don't want distance in your marriage. Your marriage should be your best friend. You should be so close to your spouse that nothing embarrasses you, that nothing is unsaid. I have a friend who carries a lot of unaddressed resentment toward her husband. And from the outside, he looks like a great guy, right? Like everyone else sees him as he's reliable, he shows up on time, he's attentive, even admirable, right? As it seems. But inside their marriage, she feels unseen. Inside their marriage, she feels unheard. And she's given me examples of this, and it's a little bit, alarming. The other day, she said something that stopped me in my tracks. She said, sometimes, Angela, I almost wish that he would just cheat on me just so I'd have a clear, undeniable reason to leave him. I was shocked. Like, yeah, that really sucks that you feel that way. And what she meant wasn't that she truly wanted to feel that betrayal. That freaking sucks. That hurts. Anybody, thankfully, my husband, but the relationships before, that betrayal cuts deep. It wasn't that she wanted that. It was that the slow build of resentment feels invisible. And she needed something. She needed a dramatic offense to point to. Just the weight of little hurts and unmet needs stacking up over time wasn't big enough for her to feel like she had any ground to stand on to be upset or have help the conversation, so she didn't feel this resentment. That's the danger of resentment in relationships. It doesn't always show up as one big, obvious wrong. Instead, it builds quietly, layer by layer, until the relationship feels heavy and unbearable. And one partner, maybe both, feel unseen and unheard and just pissed off. And because it's so subtle, it's easy for outsiders like myself to miss or to not even know what's going on inside their marriage. To everyone else, the marriage looks fine, even great. But inside, unspoken hurts, financial disagreements, and a little unmet needs create distance. And when money is in the mix, child support, stepkids, household spending plans, it accelerates that divide. That's why it's so important to name resentment early and to put intentional strategies in place. My husband and I call this fireproofing your marriage. Before something becomes an issue, we have put firewalls around it, because resentment left unspoken is like interest on debt. It compounds quietly in the background until it becomes too big to ignore. When couples create space for honest money conversations or for shared decision making and clear expectations, they stop resentment before it takes root. And that's not just good financial planning, it's good relationship planning. You're welcome. This is a financial podcast, but I'm helping you with your marriage as well. And that leads me to my fourth strategy, and that's schedule money talks on a regular basis, not just when a bill comes up. My husband and I meet every month, and we call it our love date. And we have that scheduled dedicated time so decisions feel collaborative instead of reactive. And maybe you need to talk more than a month, right? Or monthly. Maybe you need to talk weekly, but dedicated time. And you want to talk often and early. Couples who thrive don't avoid these hard conversations if they're hard. They lean into them with empathy, knowing that money is rarely just about the dollars and cents. I look at people's financial plans. I manage expenses and business cash flows every day, all day. That is my job. And I promise, when it comes to money, it is rarely about the dollar amount in your bank account or your total net worth. It is so much deeper than that. Okay, I digress on that. Number 5, another strategy is to use legal tools wisely. My episode 2 weeks ago was on estate planning, where we talked about wills and trusts and beneficiary designations. So if you weren't able to listen to that one, episode number 33. I go into some depth on what all of that looks like, and it matters so much in a blended family. Because without having these legal documents, the state decides who inherits what. And stepchildren, unfortunately, are often left out unless you plan specifically for them. And then on the day-to-day side, technology can really help keep communication clear. And I have family members and friends and clients that are in the middle of divorces, and it's ugly. When you're married, you couldn't get along. I don't know why people think they get along when they're divorced and talk about money when you're divorced, when you couldn't talk about money when you were married. It just boggles my mind. So if you hear nothing more today, if you're listening to this and you're divorced and you're paying child support and you don't use any kind of technology or formal application to talk about money, you're not making wise money moves. Sorry if that hurts your feelings. Even if you think you guys got it all, maybe you do. Maybe your communication is great and that's good for you. But majority of step parents, they argue about money. It's crazy to me. Money. It's not crazy to me. It's unfortunate. It's natural. Our Family Wizard is a really great app. It's a longstanding co-parenting app, actually, that a lot of courts, at least in Michigan, have recommended it. It has features like expense log, shared calendar, messaging, I think official, maybe not official, but record keeping. It tracks it all there. Talking Parents is another great option that keeps everything documented and transparent. And then here's the key to that when you send a text message to your ex, that ex isn't like, oh, you're always just coming after me for money. When you're texting, you're talking about your children, or maybe you're talking through logistics or birthday parties, or you're talking about anything but money. Okay. And then when you use these apps, our Family Wizard or the Talking Parents, you're talking about money or maybe calendaring, right? But it's a different form of communication. That's not your day-to-day form of communication. So you're not caught off guard by like, oh crap, my spouse is asking for $700 for camp, like on a text message. So get an app, use the tools wisely. At the end of the day, it's about creating systems, legal and practical, that protect you, that protect your family, that reduce conflict, and make sure that everyone feels seen and included. And if you have young kids, they see what's going on. They're hurting, whether you know it or not, they're hurting. So parents, ex-parents, get along. And lastly, work with a financial advisor to help you, right? If this feels all overwhelming, call me. Call an advisor to help you plan ahead for your big expenses like college or vacations and household incomes. So if you have kids from multiple households, that everyone just feels supported and included. At the end of the day, estate planning and money management and blended families isn't just about protecting your assets. It's about protecting relationships. It's about creating a peace of mind so that everyone, your spouse, your kids, your stepkids, and yes, even your ex, knows that they are seen and valued and provided for. I've watched clients who avoided these conversations for years finally sit down together, get everything out in the open, and say, I host family meetings for some clients that just can't have these conversations. And I'm kind of just there asking some questions and pressing a little bit where I see necessary. But this family said like, wow, I feel so much lighter. This was a lot easier than I was anticipating. You build it up in your head and make it so much worse. That's the real gift. Not just a smoother financial plan, but a stronger family bond. So if you are in a blended family or love someone who is, I encourage you to take the first step, talk about the money. It won't be easy, but it will be worth it. I promise. And when you do it, be kind. It's not about you. It's not about the other either. And it's not about the kids. What does God want? What does God want you to be? Where's your integrity, right? If you're being nasty and not being supportive because you're angry because he hurt you or she betrayed you or whatever that hurt might be, I'm sorry, but get over it. Don't change or jeopardize who you are because of their wrong. If you feel stuck, if you feel you have no clue of, okay, I hear you, Angela, that's great, but what do I do next? Get help. Find a financial advisor that you trust or a friend that you trust. First, have the conversation and then find a financial advisor that's going to help you plan your money wisely. When you put structure around your money, you remove some of the guesswork, and that gives couples space to focus on building connection and not conflict. So that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for joining me on Her Money Revolution. If this episode spoke to you, share it with a friend who might need it. And don't forget to subscribe. You never want to miss an episode. Together, we're building wealth, legacy, and harmony in every kind of family. Keep building, keep believing, and keep blessing. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you are feeling more empowered in your financial journey. Remember, follow and subscribe to Her Money Revolution on your favorite podcast platform, and share your feedback by leaving a review. I'd love to hear your biggest takeaway from today's episode. Until next time, stay inspired.